Assalamu alaikum, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this online seminar on the methods to improve sports impact on the environment. Hosted by the Leader Development Institute, which is known as LDI at the Ministry of Sport in Saudi Arabia. It is an honor to have you all join us today for what promises to be an enlightening and inspiring session. My name is Hamad Shahwan, Project Manager at LDI, and it's an honor to be your facilitator for this seminar tonight. As we delve into the world of methods to improve sports impact on the environment, we are actually privileged to have Dr. Michael Anagnostu. Dr. Michael is a university teacher in sport management and quantitative research methods at Loughborough University with over 23 years of experience in sport management. We're excited to have such an expert in this field tonight with us, and we look forward to his presentation, which promises to expand our knowledge and understanding of methods to improve sports impact on the environment. Following his presentation, we will have a Q&A session where you can ask any questions you have to our speaker tonight and discuss the topic we will be talking about tonight. Thank you once again for joining us today. Let's take this opportunity to learn, share, and inspire each other's as we explore this fascinating world of methods to improve sports impact on the environment. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Michael Anagnostu.
Thank you, Mr. Hamad. Salam alaikum, everyone. And I'm very, very happy to be here today with you. I guess I can start sharing my screen.
Yes.
So, and I hope that you can see my screen and my slides. So a few words about me. Masha al-Kayar, my name is Michael, and I am a university teacher in sports management and quantitative research in Loughborough University, which is one of the top sports university in the world. But before that, I was working in the industry. Since my youth, I started working for my hometown football club in Greece, where I come from. I was the marketing manager there. I was playing football, actually, and I played for the national team of Greece, under 16, under 18, and then I studied sports. I didn't manage to play professionally, but I studied sports science, and then I did my master's in sports management in Sheffield University, and then after that, I started working in the industry in Irish Football Club as a marketing manager, and then in the Olympic Games as the football competition manager for the Olympic Games. Then I joined the Greek Super League, the professional football league. I was the competitions director there for 5 years. I was the CEO for another 6 years of the Greek Super League. But at the same time, I was working for FIFA World Cups as the general coordinator of FIFA World Cups, mainly youth World Cups like under 17, under 20. But I also worked for UEFA as a UEFA delegate in UEFA Champions League matches and UEFA Europa League matches and other competitions. I was member of the task forces and committees of the European professional football leagues. And then I came to England in 2017, and I joined Nottingham Forest as the director of football operations for 3 years until I joined academia and started working for universities. So I'm very proud to say that I'm a volunteer for the English Football Association in the women's teams, and I also volunteer as a football coach of Edwalton Cavaliers in Nottingham under 11 team, which is the team where my son plays, actually. At the same time, apart from teaching, I do other projects, I do research. So recently I visited Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, a wonderful country. I was very happy to be there and to meet new friends. And I also do other projects like for FIFA or for UEFA. So whoever wants to know more about me, you can find me in LinkedIn. I think this is the easiest way today. So today, our agenda is about environmental sustainability and how sports can impact the environment and how environment can impact sports. Also, we're going to talk about the theory around environmental sustainability to understand the theoretical aspects, and it is very closely related with governance in sports. And then we're going to see some initiatives for the climate and the sustainable development. We're going to examine the topic through the lens of a research, of a scientific approach, through the typology of the three waves. These are the three levels where a sport organization can be introduced in sports sustainability, environmental sustainability. And then we're going to see some practical examples from the industry, how teams, how clubs, how sports organizations implement environmental sustainability practices. And then, of course, we will have the Q&A section. So I think we could start our journey. Climate change, as you know, is one of the biggest challenges faced by the modern society. And the effects of the climate change we can see the effects like rising temperatures in the last years, rising sea levels, floods, droughts, fires that threaten even the lives and the health of people across the planet. So recently, London, for example, recorded the highest temperature in its history, with the thermometer exceeding 40 degrees Celsius. Believe me, guys, I live in England for 7 years, and it's not that usual. I know from Greece that it's usual, but in England, no. And people are not prepared here. There are not so many air conditions. There are also not so many measures for fires. So something is going wrong in the planet, and we need to understand that. In the US, for example, there were widespread droughts because of the climate change. And in Los Angeles, the authorities made stricter recommendations to residents not to waste water. The same happened in England. Actually, gardening and wasting water in gardening was prohibited in some areas 2 years ago. And there is a need to address this negative impact, actually. And the environment affects sports activities as well. Sports cannot be out of this. Sports activities are impacted because extreme weather leads to the postponement, for example, of some sports events. Poor air quality affects the performance of the athletes. The environment has a significant impact on sport, and the environmental impacts of sport activities in combination with the broad social impact of sport and the demands that the society has from sports have driven the sports society to take action to protect the environment and the climate. I can give you some examples of how environment affects sport activities. There were torrential rains during the US Open in 2021. There were high temperatures at the Tokyo Olympic Games. We could see that at the Australian Open, for example, there were suffocating atmosphere due to the smoke from the fires. And there was another catastrophic flood in the stadium of English team in Carlisle United in 2015. Just few examples how the environment can impact sport. So in recent years, extreme weather conditions have also affected smaller leagues, smaller events, various countries around the world. Now, on the other hand, sport participates, we could say, in this climate change through its activities, through the sports facilities and through the sports events. So gathering, for example, large crowds in limited space for a limited period of time during the sport, as it happens during the sports events, it has an impact, a negative impact on the environment. And this contributes to the increased energy consumption, for example, and the increased greenhouse gas emissions. We have increased waste production. We waste a lot of water. We waste food and beverages. And in addition, a sports facility or a team demands large amounts of energy to operate the facility, to maintain the pitch, for example, for mowing, for the transportation of the teams. So looking at the environmental footprint, as we call it in sport, transportation, for example, of fans from the sports facility to the sports facility also is an issue because fan mobility constitutes, according to research, one of the largest sources of greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere. So major events, especially like World Cups, Olympic Games, Euros, Champions League, etc., they have a negative impact on the natural environment and the climate change through these amounts of waste that we mentioned. What can we do about this then? What can we do? As a result, the contribution of sport to the degradation of the environment is significant. So socially responsible sports organizations recognize their responsibility, recognize their negative environmental impact, and try to develop policies and procedures to address the environmental impact of their activities. Sports professionals lately agree that environmentally responsible management practices can have a positive impact on both the environment and also some financial savings to the sports organizations. So we are talking here about a sustainable development philosophy, where several organizations turn to adopt a more sustainable development philosophy and practice in their governance. This was used first in the Bartland report when sustainable development was defined as the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So, similarly, the European Commission about the sustainable development refers to the concept and defines it as a form of development policy which seeks to satisfy the economic, social, and environmental needs of society in a way that ensures the short-term, medium-term, and above all, the long-term prosperity. Environmental, social concerns of sports consumers must be catered for event organizers who should keep up with current trends to ensure sustainability in sport. Sports organizations recognize the social responsibility that they have and the impact that their activities have on the environment and vice versa, we could say. So as a result, sports organizations have started to adopt practices to protect the environment and to raise public awareness about this, often in a context of a CSR, as we call it, corporate social responsibility. And we can see historically here that the issue of sustainable development and the environmental protection came after the much discussed environmental impact of the 1992 Winter Olympics in Albertville, where large forest areas were cleared, diminished to create the jumping track, while ammonia was used to cool the track. in 1994, Winter Olympics in Lillehammer in Norway was the first event to implement environmentally friendly practices in stadium design, in energy, in water consumption, and also in recycling. Since 1994, the environment consists one of the three main pillars of Olympism, along with sport and culture. And especially in football, which is my sport, this is my background, the issue of climate change came to the foreground during the 2006 World Cup in Germany, with the organizers to develop the Green Goal program in collaboration with the German government and FIFA. And the specific program, actually, it was focused on water, waste, energy, transportation. So the recognition of the role of sport as an important contributor to sustainable development was formalized by the UN when it published the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of Agenda 2030, and this took place in 2017. And several initiatives actually have emerged on international level in recent years, some of which also involve sports. And the effort of sport organizations to highlight their environmental responsibility was indicated especially by the support of initiatives and following guidelines set by the international organizations. Furthermore, in addition, groups and non-profit organizations have been formed, and in order to assist sports organizations to adopt and implement these best practices in environmental sustainability. And several certifications nowadays exist through which these certifications sports organizations can certify the application of environmental sustainability strategies and practices, like, for example, the ISO 20121, the ISO 14000, and other certifications. Academic research, especially, because we are academics and we do research, points the need for the sports industry to comply with the goals and guidelines of the initiatives of the United Nations and other organizations, like the European Commission, for example. And in the following sections that we will see now, we will see these various activities which form the framework within which our sports community can take action and contribute to tackle this climate change problem. So, Sports for Climate Action by the United Nations and the International Olympic Committee. And this framework, in accordance with the goals of Paris Agreement, is looking to mobilize sport organizations to address the climate change, and at the same time to utilize the social impact of sport in order to raise awareness, to inform, and motivate the public towards the environmental sustainability program. The Sports for Climate Action framework is based on 5 pillars, which the participants in this initiative have committed to implement. These 5 main pillars are promotion of greater environmental sustainability, reduction of the overall climate impact of sport, education for climate action, promotion of sustainable and responsible consumption, and 5th and finally, support of action for the climate through their communication channels. So more than 280 sports organizations have signed the Sports for Climate Action initiative, and participants have pledged, have promised to reduce the carbon emissions by 50% by 2030 and achieve zero emissions by 2040. So several associations and non-profit organizations have been established, have been set up, aiming to increase the awareness through their actions, through exchanging best practices on environmental sustainability in sport, and to encourage sports organizations to implement these practices. And for example, some examples of these organizations we can see that exist, like the EFDN. This is the European Football for Development Network. This is the largest football network in Europe in terms of corporate social responsibility. It offers expertise and support to over 140 members, mainly football clubs, but also leagues, associations, and it helps them to improve their corporate social responsibility programs and to reach out various social groups through football, through the sport. And the objectives of this network include the cooperation of clubs and associations to promote environmental sustainability. And a characteristic example of partnerships of this organization is the recent participation with Werder Bremen in Germany in the Sports and Climate Action Initiative, with the president and CEO of the team referred to the team's intention to fulfill its social responsibility by participating in the Race to Zero initiative, and also to involve fans as well, supporters, partners and sponsors and other stakeholders of the sport. Now, another organization is the Green Sports Alliance. This is a non-profit organization that prioritizes environmental issues and provides a forum for exchange of information in the field of sport with stakeholders like clubs, leagues. They organize conferences, they involve stadiums, corporate partners, sponsors, government agencies, athletes, and fans as well. Another organization is the Sport Positive. This is a UK-based organization with a focus on supporting sports to tackle climate change. And this these Sport Positive leagues showcase the environmental sustainability initiatives of various leagues. They work together with various leagues to collect data and create a scoring system. This is very interesting, a very interesting scoring system for their actions, for the actions of the leagues, of the clubs. They create a kind of sustainability competition, we could say. This is very interesting example to check. Finally, we have the Sport Ecology Group, one of the organizations, initiatives that I chose to show you today. And this was established by a community of scholars with the goal to produce high quality academic research and to share knowledge with the sports industry, but also to raise public awareness about the topic. Now, these are the certifications that we can see in the market. We have the ISO 21221. This standard was presented for the first time at the London Olympic Games in 2012. It's a Go Green program organized. There is a Go Green program organized with this certification, and it provides a standard for managing the triple bottom line of sustainability, environmental, social, and financial. And this mainly during the sports events. And this standard offers support to organizations trying to operate in a financially sustainable manner, but also to minimize resource consumption and reduce the waste generation. Leadership in energy and environmental design is another program, another certification, which was developed by the US Green Building Council, and this is the most well-known evaluation and certification system for green buildings in the US and worldwide. BREEAM, another certification, Building Research Establishment Environmental Assessment Method, is maybe the most widely acknowledged evaluation and certification system for buildings worldwide. This was developed by the English organization BRE, and it offers a holistic framework for assessing the sustainability of buildings, mainly by looking at environmental factors such as the carbon emission reduction, the design resilience, the climate change adaptation, and the protection of biodiversity. Now, at the governance level of environmental sustainability, we can see that sport as a social platform influence millions of people throughout the world. Now, in this section, we will see the theoretical aspect of environmental sustainability and the impact and the involvement with the governance. And this, the fact that the sport acts as a social platform enables sport to raise awareness among people about the climate change and to promote environmental responsibility and sustainable behaviors. So sports organizations can contribute to tackle climate change by reducing their own environmental footprint, but also through their impact on the society, right? And under this view, under this lens, we could say, to comply, sport can comply with the rules and the regulations and the guidelines which are set by the authorities, by the governing bodies, by the international organizations, and this is necessary to be done. Legitimacy now. Let's see the concepts. Let's examine the concepts. Legitimacy is one of the most important characteristics for sports organizations. The achievement of legitimacy leads to an increased acceptance and understanding of a sports organization action by the society. Legitimacy contributes to the survival of a sports organization by ensuring stability and securing the relations with the external environment. A legitimate organization is considered to have proven its social suitability, we could say, which results in a support from the society. So society will approve us, will support us only if we are legitimate. And to ensure this legitimacy, sports organizations follow and comply with formal rules, regulations, values, and behavior norms. So in this context, institutional theory says that there is a mechanism of institutional pressures coming from above to the sport, which leads sports organizations to the so-called phenomenon of isomorphism. What is isomorphism? Is the adoption of similar practices and actions that increase the homogeneity among organizations within the same field. So, in simple words, isomorphism is when we see another organization doing the right thing, then our organization wants to do the right thing as well. It will be an insult for the organization. It will not be a good thing if we don't follow the right thing that other organizations do. So this mechanism is divided into coercive pressures, it's called, normative pressures, and mimetic pressures. So coercive pressures refer to the laws and policies. Normative pressures emerge from societal and market expectations about our performance and our standards. And The mimetic pressures refer to the limitation of behaviors and practices that have been successfully implemented, as we said, by other organizations. An example of this application of sustainability index for the teams is the participating in the English Premier League, which was followed, the example that was followed by the German Bundesliga. Now, corporate social responsibility is another important aspect through which we should see our behavior in our sports organization. Corporate social responsibility is defined as the company's commitment to minimize its harmful effects on society while maximizing the beneficial effects for both the company and the community. And environmental sustainability practices are applied in sports organizations in the context of corporate social responsibility, and various institutional pressures may determine the extent to which a firm adopts corporate social responsibility practices, CSR as we know it. And understanding the institutional pressures, these institutional pressures that leads to the adoption of environmental CSR by professional sports organizations can help us to clarify the reasons for which teams, which clubs or organizations adopt these practices. And studies have found that if we incorporate CSR, corporate social responsibility, into our programs, into a sports organization strategy, this brings value to our organization. And social responsibility of sport leads to the development of policies to avoid the negative impact sport has on the environment. Now, at the same time, so we can see the involvement and the various aspects of corporate social responsibility. It's about securing legitimacy. It's about complying with institutional pressures, creating a new social norm, save financial resources, social image and acceptance, building strong relationships also through this corporate social responsibility activity with fans, customers, local community, governing bodies, commercial partners, and sponsors. Now, since we are talking about the theory of governance, social responsibility, and legitimacy, I will show you a research, a very interesting research by McCullough and other colleagues, scientists, who found that many sport organizations actually do not know how to manage environmental issues, and this leads to a lack of strategic planning. So this ignorance, we could say, this reluctance, this lack of strategy of sports organizations is captured in this research, which is called the typology of three waves. And this three-wave typology examines the evolution of the environmental movement of sports organizations. So what really happens usually in sports organizations is that we have three levels, three waves, three steps, let's say, when a sports organization wants to be involved and help towards the environmental sustainability. So at wave one, at the first step, there is a need to act. And this need to act arises from the pressures that have been implemented by the internal or the external environment of the sports organization, or by the strategic or institutional pressures that we were talking about before. And the employees, for example, and the executives of the sport organization start to become aware at this stage of the environmental issues, and they are looking to get some knowledge, more knowledge about the topic of environmental sustainability. This is wave one. There is an initial awareness. There is some education established there, and there are some simple activities. For example, the placement of recycled bins in a sports facility, water conservation activities, a creation and display of an advertisement, for example, on the facility's big screens during a match. This is a small mimetic behavior that we can observe at this stage, at this wave one of the organization. Now, in wave two, things are a bit different. In this second stage, there is an increased activity observed, and information now starts to gather at the previous level, like, for example, data about recycling dates, energy and water savings in a stadium, and all these are used to improve specific activities, and knowledge now becomes more advanced, we could say. So in wave two, as you can see here, in a sports organization, in this second step, we can see that the awareness becomes knowledge now, and the education now is disseminated, and there are many advanced activities now. Now we also have, at this stage, we also have relationships and collaborations established with other sports organizations, like institutions that we mentioned before. Now, in wave three, in this third wave, we can see that now knowledge becomes strategy. This third wave builds on the achievements of the previous waves, and at the same time, these actions, these environmental actions, become permanent, and they are integrated into the general strategic planning of sports organizations. So now here we can see some practical examples. So FIFA and UEFA, for example, FIFA and UEFA have committed to implement the guidelines of the Sports for Climate Action framework. And both organizations have developed strategies to address the issue of climate change. At the national level, if we examine the national level, a very good example is the one of Bundesliga, the German Bundesliga, and Bundesliga 2, actually, who are the first professional leagues where regulations for sustainability were integrated in the general policy, and the clubs were demanded to meet certain sustainability criteria from 2023-2024 season. Now, the English Premier League, has signed up and has committed to implement the guidelines of the Sports for Climate Action framework, and they continue to work with clubs to reduce their environmental impact and to encourage fans to support their actions. And they are trying to change the behavior of the fans towards the environment. And these actions of the Premier League, and I can see that here in England, where I live, that they are greatly supported by the fans. And they work together with organizations like the Sports Positive. And the beginning of this cooperation that you can see here in their report was in 2019, and they made a table, actually. They made a ranking. So from 2021, there is a sustainability table, also not only for the Premier League, but also for the Bundesliga. And now it's starting to be implemented in other leagues as well, like in France, in League One, and with other leagues as well. So this is an interesting project, a ranking, so that the clubs compete each other, which club is the most sustainable one. And maybe you can implement it in your organizations if there are people from sports federations or clubs here. Now, the practices, what we can do on operational level, the main areas of environmental impact and mobilization, let's say, of sports are the ones that you can see here. Is the water and the waste management, is the energy production and conservation, it's the food consumption, it's the transportation, it's the operation of sports facilities. And the goal is to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and the air pollution, to save water and energy, to minimize the waste for disposal generated at the sports facilities, and other goals and aims. Now, we can see that UEFA, for example, is implementing a holistic approach, is trying to implement a circular economy, and the motto is reduce, reuse, recycle. And they are using communication, they are using raising awareness, they are using regulations. They try to impose regulations to the football associations. They have educational programs and training. They monitor, they report, and they try to organize the FAs, the members, the fans, but also the citizens of a country in a FA. Now, another very, very good example that if you have the time to research about is the Forest Green Rovers club. On a team level, on a club level, we could say that this is the most active team in environmental issues by far. And this is the only sports team to be officially recognized by the United Nations as a carbon neutral and by FIFA as the greenest team in the world. And they are the first and only vegan team in the world. And Forest Green Rovers proves that sports clubs can lead the fight against climate change alongside their development at the competitive level. Now, in specific, now the team meets its energy needs from 100% renewable sources, a percentage of which is produced by solar panels, which are located on the roof of its new lawn stadium. The football pitch is 100% organic. There are no pesticides used, and the lawn is mowed by a solar-powered lawn mower. The lawn is irrigated with rainwater, which is collected at the team's facilities, and electric vehicles, charging stations provided. Fans are encouraged to use sustainable means of transportation to get to the stadium, and soon they will have their new stadium built. Now, this is a very good example, and we can see here their reports that you can find them in their website if you're interested. We can see how they are trying to reduce their footprint in terms of gas and electric, in terms of water consumption, fuel, traveling, transportation, air travel, team travel, and fan travel. And they are setting targets, and they are trying to achieve these targets by 2030. Now, another very good example is the Johan Cruyff Arena, the sustainable Johan Cruyff Arena. We can see that they are using over 4,200 solar panels. They have energy storage in car park, and they have dressing rooms and offices cooled with water from the Outer Care Plus. They own a windmill for green energy. They implement so many interesting programs like LED grow lighting, energy generating escalators in the main building, smart sensors to monitor the pitch, glass field kept frost free with sustainable heating, and they collaborate with strategic partners on innovation and sustainability. Another example is the one of the World Athletics. They have also developed a strategy there, and we can see the main aspects. United Nations Environment, Clean Air and Clean Seas, together with the International Olympic Committee. They are trying to follow the Global Sustainable Development Goals, together with member federations and other stakeholders. And this is a matrix that you can find in the report of sustainability strategy of the World Athletics. Another example here is the Liverpool, a program called the Red Way. This is the Liverpool Football Club sustainability strategy, and you can see that their main pillars are our people, our planet, our communities, and especially for our planet, they say that we make decisions and take actions that have a positive impact on the planet. And these are some of the details of the implemented programs. And these are their carbon emission reduction plan. They are trying to reduce fuel consumption, gas, electricity, employee travel, supply chain, catering, team flights, fun travel, waste. Even in the website and merchandising, they are trying to reduce consumption and protect the environment. And by 2030, they want to reduce their operational carbon emissions by 50%. This is a research we have done in Greece for the Greek Football League clubs, and we try to identify the weaknesses and the reasons of failure, actually, because sometimes we know that it's not always the case. It's not the priority most of the times of the clubs around the world. So we checked how active the clubs are in terms of recycling, in terms of reducing use of plastic, in terms of using LED, how much they control water use, if they use ecological fertilizers, if they cut the grass at natural fertilizer, if they use paper from recyclable material, very specific points, indicators which can show us, can indicate if a sports organization is implementing environmental sustainability practices. Now, you can see various aspects on this. For example, avoidance of food wasting, collaboration with external consultants, collaboration with suppliers through code of ethics, environmental sustainability, a part of CSR, education, etc., etc. So we try to see what they are implementing, and we identified many weaknesses, and we understood that the reasons of failure and the reasons that the clubs, many clubs around the world, are still in step one, in wave one of the three waves model, are very specific. So our analysis revealed that there are several weaknesses. And for example, the lack of recognition by the teams and the authorities, the sports authorities, of the degradation of the environment as a major problem. People don't know that this is a major problem. We have to understand that we will be boiling, guys. I mean, we have to do something about this. And but there is also a lack of awareness about environmental issues. There is a lack of knowledge, and there is an absence of leadership on this topic. And we have a discouraging effect on the adoption of environmental practices. Also, the age of existing facilities, for example, the status of the ownership of the facilities. So who owns the stadium? Is it the government? Is it the club? Is it the local council? Who has the responsibility to invest on environmental practices? This is a major factor. The age of the facilities. As we said, that most of the facilities didn't belong to the clubs. The teams face so many problems in their daily operations, actually. And some of you, if you work around clubs in sports, you know that there is a very busy program that even if they recognize the importance of environmental protection, the environment does not receive the attention, we could say, that it should, because the available resources are not sufficient, and no legislation or no regulations exist. And if, at least if they had these regulations, this would oblige them. This would oblige these organizations to account for the protection of the natural environment. So we can see the weaknesses here. So there is the culture and leadership are not there. There is lack of environmentally friendly mentality, lack of education and information. Environment is not their priority. There is lack of measurements and data, lack of planning and coordination, lack of stakeholder pressure from above. So as they said, nobody imposed anything. Nobody tell us that we have to do this. If we had to do this, we would do it. So the league, the federation, the government should impose measures. And at the end, we have lack of action and initiatives. As we said, problems with the facilities, with the ownership, the bureaucracy in the state sometimes, and of course, a lack of financial resources or lack of human resources, lack of staff. At the same time, for the same organizations, they can see some opportunities there for their clubs and for their organizations. They can see opportunities in corporate social responsibility programs. And because we're talking about football clubs, they could see opportunities in football social responsibility programs. They can see opportunities in partnerships with sponsors and suppliers. Sponsors like environmental sustainability programs. They do prefer sports clubs and organizations that implement environmental sustainability programs. They can see opportunities in fan engagement. Fans also like these programs, and they can see opportunities to attract new fans apart from the traditional football fans, younger audience who are very familiar, and they are very keen in seeing programs like that implemented. They can see also opportunities in reputation of their club. They can see some cost savings. If they gather the rainwater, for example, to water the pitch, they save some, a few thousands every year. And they can see opportunities if they cooperate with external consultants. And now, speaking about these external consultants, please allow me to present you an interview that I did this morning only for you guys with a consultancy company. And let's listen to their opinions on the topic. Please let me know if you don't hear the noise in the next seconds.
Mr. Ioannis Konstantopoulos, founder and owner of Sports Footprint, today, 29th of October. Ioannis, thank you for accepting the invitation. And I would like to ask you first, how does the environment impact sport activities and events? Do you think that sports will be influenced by the climate change in the near future?
Hello, Michael, and thanks a lot for the invitation to be here with you today. It's a great question because I think that the sports industry has already been affected by climate change, by the climate crisis, as a lot of other aspects on our society. Of course, depending on the region, the effects are different. We've seen a lot of floods in certain areas of the world, for example, the UK, or long periods of drought in other places of the world, extreme temperatures that affect sport events. For example, there was a case in the Australian Open in tennis, where they had to postpone some matches because of extreme heat. Also, there was this case a couple of years ago in a competition in Africa where the referee blew the whistle to stop the game 15 minutes before the end of the game because he had a heat stroke. So we've seen climate change affecting sports in several ways already. And we've seen that sports organizations are adopting different mitigation and adaptation strategies, for example, changing the time of the event, changing the dates of the event, or having a lot of AC air conditioning inside the stadium. So we've seen that the sports industry is really adapting on these climate change impacts already at the present, which will be further enhanced in the future.
So you think that this phenomenon, this incidents will take place in the future?
100%. I think it's already happening in the present and will happen in the future as well, much more.
So how can sport authorities, how the sports clubs and organizations help humanity to cope with this phenomenon of climate change? What should they do?
Yeah, that's I guess the most important question, right? So there are, as every industry in the world, it has to set specific emission reduction targets. For example, cutting by 50% its carbon emissions by 2030, as basically every industry in the world. And the most important, the most significant environmental impacts of sports is happening through the mega or large sport events like the World Cup, like the Olympics, and these kind of events. So the way it works is first measuring these impacts, so understanding how harm do we do in the environment. Secondly, creating a strategy, a document outlining our initiative and practices for the next X years, 3, 4, 5. And based on this strategy, which has specific initiatives, specific key performance indicators to achieve these goals, do the actual initiatives, like implement more sustainable practices. For example, change the plastic cans with the paper cans, or reduce energy consumption. Different practices in different assets, and then of course measure again to see the impact of these initiatives on the overall situation. This is the framework that every industry, and the sports industry, has to operate in order to be effective on helping the humanity to tackle climate crisis.
So can the sports organization be assisted in this? For example, your organization, what your company does. Tell us a few things. How can you help sports organizations?
I would say that sports organizations definitely need help on that. Why? Because they are not used to doing sustainability work, right? Their primary goal is to ensure that sport competitions are happening correctly, that they are organized well, and the development of the sport and other issues. So it's really difficult for them when some other authorities, they come and ask them, you need to have a sustainability strategy, you need to do sustainability initiatives. Nobody has previous knowledge on that in sports. So a lot of organizations are making partnerships either with companies or NGOs or public authorities to help them on this sustainability journey. What do we do with sports organizations? We started in Greece almost 3 years now, and we first of all assess the existing situation. We make a sustainability report. We measure where the carbon emissions are coming from, and based on this report, based on this data, we try to adopt a data-driven approach. So based on those data, create the strategies and the initiatives that have the biggest positive impact on the organization, help them implement these initiatives, and again, measure the impact on the initiatives on the overall report. Either it's about environmental initiatives or about social initiatives, right? So we try to measure also the negative environmental impacts, but also the positive social impact that sport has on the society.
Very interesting. Do you think that any organization, any sports organization could do this? And tell us a few examples that sports organization that you have worked with so far.
That's also a great question. I think that every sport organization should do things on sustainability, but the initiatives they do are different. So we cannot expect from FIFA having the same initiatives with a local sports club in any country of the world. Of course, we expect more from large sport organizations where they invest really a lot of money on sustainability to do sustainability initiatives, and also low-cost actions from smaller sport organizations. For example, we're working with a club which is on the second division in Greece. It's called Panionios. And what we do is very, very simple initiatives. For example, creating educational courses for the fans to bring their own bottle to the stadium, to educate them, to make recycling, very, very basic things. When it comes to international federations like FIFA, of course, we try to make more sophisticated initiatives, find the sophisticated waste management strategies, do composting, for example, like more advanced things. So, of course, the sophistication of this initiative depends on the level that the organization is and on the investment that they are eager to invest on the amount of money.
But there must be a plan, there must be a strategy for any level of sports organizations, right?
100%.
Ioannis, thank you very, very much. It was a really honor and joy to have you here today with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the invitation once again.
So let's go back to our presentation again. And with this final slide, I would advise you, because I know that there are many people there now in the audience from sports organizations. First of all, to identify priorities, to make measurements, to understand what your footprint is, and then start creating a strategy and align the strategy with the organization vision. Choose a framework, choose the priorities, make sure that your strategy can be transferred into an action plan with specific KPIs. And after you assess your existing situation, consult with stakeholders, and then start implementing your program. Thank you, shukran, and I'm available for your questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Michael. Now we will move to the Q&A session. If you have any questions to Dr. Michael, please feel free to ask in the chat. And if you allow me, I'll be looking up to read the questions. I already have one question here from Abir. She's asking, would it be possible to say how gymnastic hall could be sustainable? We faced once where gymnastic competition was forced to delay and have it all in one day instead of 3 days in Dubai due to rain.
Yeah, first of all, there should be a study, a measurement of the footprint in terms of facilities. We know that gymnastics use indoor hall. So this indoor hall, where it takes its energy from, and what is the energy that consumed, and then how the people come to the facility, how they access the facility. Do they walk? Do they take their bicycle? Do they take their car? Things like that. And then how much energy is wasted. So it's mainly around the facility, but also is around the organization of events, the attitude of the athletes themselves, the means of transportation, and other things. I would say that first, consult with experts, do a study around that, do a measurement, and then decide your strategy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Michael. We also have another question from Adham. How could we improve environmental sustainability in F1 during racing season?
Sorry?
And Formula One during racing season. How can we improve environmental sustainability?
Well, I'm sure that there are programs that are implemented already, but you cannot avoid the consumption sometimes, but you can consume responsibly. So again, it's another level of organization, another level of event. But that's why we said that regulations and norms should come from above. And at least if we try to be in the right direction and be as sustainable as possible. And again, a more specific study with much more detail. But I'm sure that there are things organized there already, like we know about the eco formula or the new technology that is trying to consume less carbon. So it's a big project, but I'm sure that there are things there already.
Excellent. Also, we have another question from Marwan. How can we measure all sustainable points? I'm not sure if the question is very clear from Marwan. If you can write it if you can explain the question in a better way, it would be possible. We have another question. Sorry, we have another question from Muhammad. How can we apply a sustainability in physical education in school?
Well, it's one of the things that they should be, included in the curriculum, in the program, or in the schools. That's where everything starts from. We should learn the value of this approach. We should learn how important it is to think and act sustainably without harming our environment. And this starts from simple activities. I come from a country where, Greece, when I came here in England in 2017, England is much more advanced. And I saw these differences, and now, if I don't see 3 different bins for recycling, I don't like it, because now I'm used. So people have to start get used in this mentality from the early stages, from school, implementing educational programs, doing activities, collective activities, like to gather, to put trees in the fields, or to gather litter, or to stop using plastic, things like that. Of course, physical education, that's where we should start from.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dr. Michael. I think there's no more questions in the chat area. I just wanted to express my gratitude to Dr. Mizna Al-Marzouki, Director General of LDI, and Khalid Rashid, Director of Training, and his team for organizing this seminar. A special thank you to our phenomenal expert speaker, Dr. Michael Anagnostou. Your valuable insights and extensive research have provided us with a deeper understanding of these methods to improve sports impact on the environment. Your contribution have not only enlightened us, but have also inspired us to think more critically and creatively about how we can apply these concepts to the impact of sport and environment. To our engaged audience, thank you for your active participation and thought-provoking questions. Your enthusiasm and willingness to learn have enriched our discussion. Thank you once again for being part of this significant event. We look forward to hear from you in the future, and also we hope that we will see the positive impact of this seminar in future events as well. Goodbye, and until next time, thank you so much, Dr. Michael, and thank you very much everyone for attending this seminar tonight.